Well, we're live. So there was just two Nazarenes in my comments that were bugging me a little bit. One of them was just, or not really bugging me. He was a little respectful, so I invited him to discuss, but I don't think he's gonna come. The other one is the obnoxious one, and I'm telling him, come up, let's have a discussion. So I don't know how long this live is gonna go. I don't know exactly what I'm be doing, but I'm well. Actually, I did have one thing I wanted to do that I didn't get to do yet. I need to critique myself like I usually do this. I need to rewatch my video and critique myself. I usually do it, and but I didn't get to. Oh, what the heck? Oh, okay, brought me back to my channel here. Cool. All right. No. Wait. My videos. So what I'm going to be doing for now is just listening to my YouTube creators. Wait a minute. No. That's not what I wanted. How do I? Okay, view my channel. There we go. Okay, I was like, what the heck do I do? All right, so what I want to do is I just want to wait. Home. What's going on there? Okay, I don't know why that's in the for you specifically. Anyways, I'm just gonna react to my introduction to Genesis for now because I did not get to do that yet. I didn't get to. I didn't get to critique it. I usually like to critique. Dude, those birds are. Hold on a second. I usually like to critique myself by rewatching my videos, see if there's anything I could do better, and if I make mistakes, correct it in a live or not a live, a pinned comment like, "Hey, I said this at this point in the video. That was a mistake. I meant to say this." So I like to do that, and I like to just rewatch myself, see if what can I do better. What did I do here that I think is wrong or it's off, and how can I fix it? I like doing things like that. So I'm gonna be doing that, and if someone shows up, which I'm doubting it, but if one of the Nazarenes show up, then hopefully, I don't know. I'm I'm in a mood right now. Anyway, here we go. I need to present. I gotta present. Just gonna be a short stream, probably. If they don't show up, they don't show up. Welcome everyone to the introduction of Genesis, the beginning of God's word. Genesis 1:1-3. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. Beautiful verses that we will get into at the beginning of the study. But for now, we'll leave that as it is. So I'm going to be taking off my camera for the introduction videos, only because when I did the general introduction to the Bible, my camera got in the way of certain words, and I didn't like that, and I don't think you guys liked it either. So I'm going to turn off my camera for these. But then when we do the Bible study, I'll have my camera, so you'll see me. You'll see my facial reactions. Okay, it'll be fun. All right. Whoa. Okay, I almost completely removed the thing from the. Okay, anyway. So what is the title of the book? I know it sounds like a weird question, but it's interesting, something to talk about. Watch. I almost did it According to Jewish tradition, the title of the book was the first word of the book. Oh, I did do it again. Oh, which means in the beginning. Dude. See it right here, Bereshit. There's the whole verse 1. Okay. Hold on. I was going to say, I accidentally almost removed in that video, in that point, I almost removed the presentation from the screen, and I just did it right now. So, good job, me. All right. So let's see here. I need. What if the sun is big enough to hit? Or wait, hold on. No. I need to go here. I completely messed up. I don't know what the heck I did. Share screen. I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to critique myself. The modern title comes from the Latin Vulgate, where they took from the Greek term geneseos, which in this context would mean origin. So if you look up the word on Strong's, you'll get different definitions. But generally, like in this context, origin is the best one because you got a lot of origin in this book: origin of man, origin of sin, origin of creation, origin of Israel, etc., etc., etc. A lot of that. Origin of the.
So it looks like that it runs better when I'm upstairs near the Wi-Fi. I was in a room right there. I had my camera off, so I was laying down in a bed awkwardly. It was like my back was getting destroyed. But it looks like it runs better when I'm up here, because when I'm downstairs, if you saw my general introduction, actually, I gotta make a playlist really quick. I gotta add this to a specific playlist for Genesis. Well, I don't have to, but I want to. Well, let me make the playlist first. How about that? Public. Genesis. And then there we go. And then I need to go to my playlists. I just gotta edit it. Okay, there we go. Save. All right, yeah, and we will continue that series actually very soon, hopefully. I gotta record the first study. So that'll be Genesis 1, 1 to 5. That's what I've chosen. I'm gonna be spending a long time on that. So I gotta just do those few verses, a little bit at a time. All right, now back to this. And I forgot to add, so in the Latin Vulgate, I think it's actually called Liber Genesis in Latin. So that's where we get Genesis from, the Latin Vulgate. But anyway, Bereshit is fine of a title.
Promise of Jesus, which is in Genesis 3, which we'll talk about that when we get there. So that is the title of the book. I prefer just to call it Genesis, because if I say Bereshit, I doubt anyone's going to understand. I don't know if they call it Bereshit today for Jews. I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up. But if they do, I wouldn't mind saying Bereshit just for them. But when talking to Christians or people that...
By the way, I did look that up. They do call it Bereshit today. The modern Jews, they do call it Bereshit. So if I ever end up discoursing with a Jew, I will probably be calling the books of the Tanakh by their Hebrew names, just so that they're familiar with what I'm saying. Just for charity. Like I like, for example, the Nazarenes, I'll concede the name Yahusha. I'll pronounce the name Yahusha, or I'll say the Most High. I'll try to avoid saying Lord and God as much as I can, just for charity. So, if I were discussing with a Jew on the book of Genesis, I would say Bereshit, if I'm pronouncing that right, just to for charity, just so they can understand, I can understand them, or so that they can understand me.
All right, that know it as Genesis. I'll just use Genesis just to keep it simple. Just that's what we traditionally called it. No reason to change it. Don't fix what's not broken. Anyway, who wrote Genesis? The two main views and their evidence. So the first view, and these are general. There's different forms of each view, but the first view is the traditional view, is that Moses wrote it, with possibly some people previously compiling parts, such as Abraham. There's a note on the bottom also that's relevant. It's possible there were some later contributions, but this isn't the same as the documentary hypothesis, which we'll talk about in a second. And Moses is the general writer. So although there may be some earlier and later portions, Moses is the general writer and possibly the one who compiled it if earlier people wrote it, excuse me. So the author would be Moses. This is my view, by the way. I believe Moses wrote it. The more liberal view among atheist scholars, or etc., they believe what's called the documentary hypothesis. And there are different forms. There's also different views that are not necessarily the documentary hypothesis per se, but anyways, different views that say it's not Moses. This is the main one, the documentary hypothesis. Later Jewish scribes, probably during the Jewish exile, this is a bit of this is partially true, but they will concede that the earliest is probably the 10th century, the 900s is when it started. And we'll look at the next slide. I have a summary of it. So there are often two accounts of the same event, or two names. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. What am I doing? So that's a documentary hypothesis, that later Jewish scribes from as early as the 10th century, going as late as the 6th century, contributed to different portions, and that eventually made up what we now call Genesis. So what is the evidence for Moses writing it? First of all, the Bible repeatedly identifies the law of Moses, which would include Genesis, Luke 24:44, which we'll open it up really quick. Whoops. Okay, there we go. All right. Luke. Apologies. All right, and it says, then he said to them, these are the words which I spoke to you while I was still with you, that all the things must be fulfilled, which were written in the law of Moses and the prophets and the Psalms concerning me. So the law of Moses was understood to be the entire Torah, which would include Genesis, which would mean that this is from Moses, Genesis. And let's go back to the presentation. excuse me for the background noise. The Bible identifies the author directly as Moses, John 7:22 and Acts 15:1. So this is going to be directly for Genesis. Let's open up these texts really quick. John 7:22.
I kind of like this blue. I'm just messing around with the media assets, and you have this blue wave that actually looks really nice. I like it. I think I'm gonna keep it. Anyway, all right. Let's see if we get. Anyway,
so here's John 7:22. Moses therefore gave you circumcision, not that it was from Moses, but from the fathers, and you circumcise a man on the Sabbath. So look what it says. Moses gave you circumcision, but it was not from Moses, from the fathers, Abraham, in Genesis 17. So how's it that Moses gave circumcision, but it wasn't from him? Well, the answer is that he's the one who wrote Genesis. What about Acts 15:1? And certain men came down from Judea and taught the brethren, unless you are circumcised according to the custom of Moses, you cannot be saved, which is not true, by the way. So the custom of Moses, this is what they understood it, a custom of Moses, yet Abraham was the one who instituted it. Well, technically God, but it started with Abraham. So how can this be the custom of Moses if it started with Abraham? Because they understood that Moses wrote Genesis. So we see biblical evidence that, yes, it identifies the author as Moses, not within Genesis itself, but in the rest of the.
So one thing to critique myself, I think I did take a bit too long with this. Like 28 minutes is a bit long for an introduction video, maybe. Another thing, I think I forgot to mention, the biblical evidence, I could have strengthened the argument by saying, like, this is a tradition that continued. It's not like it was made up on the fly. So you can see examples in mainly for the first point. So you can see examples in the Old Testament, like in Second Chronicles, I think, where they're calling it the law of Moses as early as that. So there's a continuous tradition that is preserved. Even in Joshua, you'll have the book of the law. Now, the biblical evidence, I could have clarified more. This is more proof for Christians, because some Christians may deny this. So, like, for example, a text in the New Testament saying Moses wrote it, a secular scholar won't accept that. But a Christian that believes the Bible will accept that. So I think I could have been more clear on things. Could have shortened this, but anyway.
The Bible, you would include Moses as the author. So Genesis itself does not mention the author, but externally the Bible mentions it. But what about extra biblical evidence? So first of all, Moses received a good Egyptian occasion. I don't know what I just said. Let me try that again. Moses received an Egyptian education, Acts 7:22. And just in case you reject the book of Acts and say, look, that's centuries later, so you can't use that as a source for Moses. Well, this is reasoning they had based on what the text of Exodus says. So, Acts 7:22, and Moses learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, and was mighty in words and deeds. Moses was taught from the Egyptians. He received a really good education. Why? Because Pharaoh's daughter raised him. She found him and raised him. So yes, Moses had a really good background and was qualified to write not only the book of Genesis, but the entire Torah. This really helps for Genesis because he obviously didn't live through all those events, but he must have had some he must have had some way to be able to, all right, I can gather information, all right, this goes here. He had that capability. That's why you'll see in movies like Prince of Egypt, him being portrayed as like an actual prince in Egypt, because he was raised by Pharaoh's daughter. The last piece of evidence is the Torah identifies itself, Moses writing things down. Let's go to Exodus 17:14. I gotta finish this fast. I mean, I'm in like a weird position for my back, and my throat is giving out on me. So let's see if I can make this quick. Then Yahweh, I'm gonna say, so just a quick note going forward. Whenever you see Lord in all capitals, that's the divine name, the Tetragrammaton, Yahweh. I'm gonna be saying Yahweh instead of the Lord. Just a thing I personally do. So whenever you see this, just know I'm not saying it's Yahweh because that's what it is in Hebrew. So then Yahweh said to Moses, write this for a memorial in the book and recount it in the hearing of Joshua, that I will utterly blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heaven. So the Torah itself,
1 second.
Moses is writing things down. So this could easily include Genesis. If he was writing things.
All right, sorry guys, that was my mom. I had to pick up the phone, or else I'm getting the chancla, getting hit with the chancla. Anyway,
things down. He very well could have been writing Genesis. with oral
Not that
traditions, and we'll
anyone's
get into how
watching,
he
but
wrote it at
anyway.
the end. But I believe it is easily him that was the one writing it. What about the evidence for the documentary hypothesis? The first piece of evidence is that there are often two accounts of the same event or two names. So, for example, there are two creation accounts, and one uses the term Elohim, whereas the other one uses the term Yahweh. Look at Genesis 1 through 2, 3, and then verses Genesis 2, 4 through 24. Let's actually look at one verse each just to sort of see what they mean. I'm not going to look at the whole thing now. We will look at that in the future when we go through the creation accounts, which will pretty much be like the start of the series. Hopefully it won't take that long. So here's Genesis 1:3, the first one. Supposedly.
I did forget to put it on
then
the
Jesus
screen
said,
there.
let,
But
Jesus, oh my goodness. Then God, well, Jesus is God, but anyway, then God said, let there be light, and there was light. And this is the history of the heavens and of the earth when they were created, in the day that Yahweh God made the heavens.
yeah, so
The earth and the heavens.
oops. So I kind of found the the two names argument. I just found it really weird. I don't know why that was supposed to be an argument for multiple scribes. We don't argue like this for anything else. We don't say, look, this storybook uses two different names. Must be two different authors from two different time periods. Like, we don't do this with anything else. Why is it suddenly with the Torah? Oh, look, they're using they're using two titles or two names in different sections. It must be different scribes that contributed in different centuries, which is making even more extreme. We don't do this with any other text. The two accounts I can understand, although a lot of times they're misunderstanding. Like, for example, Abimelech. Those are two different stories. That's not the same account. Those are two different stories. Remember, Genesis is a narrative. So, yeah.
So, you see the difference in name. There's Yahweh. Well, Yahweh God, it has both. So, that kind of brings evidence against this evidence. But you have Elohim here, and then you have Yahweh here. And then it starts again by saying this is the history of the heavens after already the first part already mentioned the history of the heavens. So they'll say, well, that's two different accounts. That's two different creation accounts, they'll say, that were contributed by other authors. The genealogies in Genesis begin with, this is the book of generations, meaning it's likely a different text put together. Then there's a third piece of evidence, knowledge of the events after Moses' death, like the kings of Israel in Genesis 36:31. So just to point, put it there. Just to point that out, the book of, so for example, if you go through the generations of Esau, it will say this is the book of generations. So that's the argument. We'll get into that in a second because I have responses, general responses. Anyway, Genesis 36:31. Now these were the kings who reigned in the land of Edom before any king reigned over the children of Israel. So the author seems to have knowledge of the kings of Israel, and we will probably get into that when we get to Genesis 36:31. And then finally, the repetitions within the text indicate that there were different editions from different scribes. And you can see that kind of sounds like a stretch, but that's the best I can put the argument because it was a weak argument. And here we have contra the documentary hypothesis. Excuse me. This is the documentary hypothesis right here, the summary. You see the Yahwist.
Yeah. So those are very general responses. So I will be expanding upon that within the series. So, for example, when we go through the creation accounts, I got to look at them a little more deeply to understand what the argument they make is, and then how to respond to that. I have to look at it more deeply. But these are going to be general responses here to the documentary hypothesis. And again, this is a little bit too long for an introduction. I'm sorry about that. That's something I got to work on. I got to try to condense that to under 20 minutes.
Elias, Deuteronomic tradition, priestly work, giving us the GEDP sources. So
that's weird.
That's it right there. That's a summary.
Light just like flickered.
So
there's no light above me.
In response to saying there are two accounts of different things, I would argue the two accounts are often either two different stories, so they're not the same event.
Oh, you know what events. It is? Oh,
there might be similarities, but they're not the same event.
Back.
Or there might be other misunderstandings that are involved in the text. So, for example, maybe sometimes they are harmonized. Maybe they're harmonizable. There's just a misunderstanding.
Okay, let me pause it. You know what? I think a plane just flew by over the house and it sort of covered the sun a little bit. So I think maybe it was flying a little closer. So I don't know. That was weird. It looked like a light flickered above me. That was weird. I don't know.
Understanding. Or there could be other things that are going on depending on the text. We'll look at it more in depth as we go through. Because remember, these are my general responses. Number two, the two names do not prove multiple contributions. I can write the following, and this is kind of a weird example, but anyways, I went to the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf of America was beautiful. There's another example where you would say, Joe Biden just got inaugurated into office. I hope the president does well. You're using two different titles there. Not that you're.
I should have just used that example instead of writing, I went to the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf of America was beautiful. I think the Joe Biden example was better. or even if I said Donald Trump, Joe Biden just became president. I hope the president does well. That's better than my example of the Gulf of Mexico. So that's probably something I could have done better, a better example. Because I had time to think about this. It's not like I had to rush it, but anyway, that's whatever.
Having two different scribes contribute, but you're writing the same thing or saying the same thing. It's from you. So two names don't indicate, well, this must be two different scribes from different centuries, or that people are differently, or even not even different centuries. It doesn't indicate that two different people are writing it. It just means that he's using different names. The books or documents of genealogy are easily explained as either sources Moses had and incorporated into Genesis, or simply how he titled the genealogy sections, because the Hebrew word for book also means document. So each genealogy is considered a document that you could use as genealogies. Either one works. I think it's a stretch to say that this is the result of saying this is the book of genealogies. Obviously, they use it as a cumulative case, so it's not. This is like each portion is not individual evidence. It's all together one cumulative case. But either way, my response stands. These are two much more likely explanations than scribes contributed to it centuries later. The supposed knowledge of events after Moses are misunderstandings, or maybe they were later scribal additions. I forgot to write this, that weren't necessarily this. All right. So it's possible that during the time of kings that they did add before there was kings in Israel in Genesis 36:31. I don't think that's the case in that specific text, but there may be some times where things like that happen. When we get to Genesis 14:14, I have to look deeper into it, but supposedly that's a later addition. But anyways, I digress. The repetitions are likely used for emphasis. So the repetitions, I don't understand that argument, honestly. Repetitions of words don't indicate it must be different scribes. We don't do this with any other text. The repetitions are easily explained as emphasis. They're repeating the same thing to emphasize it. I'm reading currently James White's book, Dr. James White, The Forgotten Trinity, and he tends to repeat things a lot to really emphasize his point. It's not that, okay, this must be different people writing the book. No, it was written by Dr. James White, but that's just how he presented it. He emphasized things by repeating them. Not that different scribes contributed to his book. No, although I guess you could say some people contributed in a way, but not in a sense like this. All right, so next. When was Genesis written? According to documentary hypothesis, which I reject, the earliest contributions were as early as the 10th century BC, 900s. And you saw the chart.
Actually,
and the latest around the 6th century.
This morning I just read. What did I read? Yeah, I read the 8th chapter, one of the chapters where he argues. Oh no, there's the mailman. And there's my dog about to bark at the mailman. Don't bark. Anyway, so yeah, walk over there, away from the house. So I did read chapter 8, and he does a really good job arguing that Jesus is Yahweh with Hebrews 1:8-12, and then John 12:37-41, and then he makes one more just briefly with 1 Peter 3:14-15. All right, you do not bark. Be nice. All right, back to the video. You know what I probably should do? I probably should not comment about the picture. I probably should just shut up about it, because that's what I did a few times. I took up like 10 seconds. Hey, look, this is a picture of Abraham. This
500, specifically 586, when they were captured by Babylon, exiled. This eventually, say maybe 5th century or the 400s, led to what we now call Genesis, because we have manuscripts of Genesis from the 3rd century, I believe, 4th or 3rd century. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but we have manuscripts from those times. So it's safe to say that under this hypothesis, it would be more the 400s or the 5th century. All right. However, contrary to the documentary hypothesis, Moses being the author would place it sometime in the 15th century, 1400s, when he was likely alive. So this one says we didn't get the full book of Genesis until sometime in probably the 400s, say maybe 450. That's under that documentary hypothesis when we get Genesis as it is today. All the contributions came way earlier. Under Moses being the author, it would be written sometime in the 1400s when he was alive and active. And it was probably after the Exodus, which is in Exodus 12:31-42, which was roughly 1445 BC. As I don't see Moses writing about it during his years in Egypt or contending with Pharaoh. I would say maybe 1445 to 1440 BC is when it was likely written. That's just my guess. I could be wrong. So if Moses was around in the 1400s or the 15th century, which that's the estimate of the conservative scholars, 1400s, and I believe liberal scholars say the same thing, 1400s. So that's the estimate. I don't think it's that far off. So under this hypothesis, I would say that he's not writing it before the Exodus. Why? Because number one, when he was being raised, I don't think he was particularly worried about recounting the history of his people. I don't think so. I think he was more getting raised up in the Egyptian way. I don't know if he discovered he was a Hebrew later or if he knew already he was a Hebrew. I'm not sure. But either way, by the way, this is Abraham right here. Anyway, so I don't know. I don't know for sure for that. But I don't think it's likely that he was writing it before then. And during when he was contending with Pharaoh, I don't think he was particularly worried about recounting the history of the Israelite people then either, because, well, he was busy trying to free them. Then afterward, when it starts mentioning he wrote things down, like in Exodus 17, 14, I think that, yes, then it is possible that he started writing things down about Genesis. So that'd be around 1445 to 1440 BC. Now we're going to do an overview of Genesis. I want to close it right here. So I do think Moses probably got, excuse me, I wrote this wrong here, but I think Moses probably had written sources, oral tradition, and revelation from God to write Genesis. So he spoke to God, obviously, throughout Exodus and Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. He spoke to God repeatedly. And I think that he did have written sources that he was able to have. I think there's a book actually mentioned that we don't have today in Exodus, if I'm not mistaken. I'll put it on the screen if I can find the verse. But yeah, I think it's likely he had written sources with him to be able to use that he researched. There's also oral tradition. I think it's very possible that Jews were preserving oral tradition of what happened down from Adam all the way down. And then revelation God is obviously he spoke to God. There are some minor parallels with other ancient works, not because they were copied, but because they likely had similar traditions and sources. And Genesis is likely a polemic against these texts. So think about like the Epic of Gilgamesh. I don't think that Genesis is directly copying it, but I do think that they had similar sources that they were using.
After this, we're going to look at
actually different because they're different people. But anyway,
we're going to look at the Old Testament a little
I
bit.
do want to read this section from the introduction of Genesis in the Apologetic Study Bible. This is the highlighted Genesis and Ancient Myths. And I'll take a picture and put it on the screen, but for now I'm just going to read it here. The parallels between chapters 1 through 11, and creation and flood myths have elicited the question: is the Bible merely a Hebrew version of myths about beginnings? When weighing the importance of parallels, these principles should be kept in mind. First, not all parallels are equally significant, since minor ones may be attributed to common content.
Hold on.
Second, the identity of who is borrowing from whom cannot be definitively concluded. Often it is best to assume a universal memory as a source. Excuse me. That's the end of the sentence.
Okay, hold on. No, scratch this. I gotta re-upload this. I just realized I completely forgot to. What is this? Oh, that's Joel Osteen's son. Okay, I gotta re-upload this. I have to re-upload this. I completely forgot. I was gonna take a picture of the what I was reading in the study Bible, but I forgot to add it. Oh my goodness, I gotta delete that. Okay, I'll re-upload it. Don't worry, we'll get that re-uploaded. That was my mistake. Anyways, what I wanted to do was I did want to just talk a little bit here about the Greek term Christos. So actually, I probably should put YouTube back up now that I think about it. Anyways, that's fine. Now, put the hold on. Wait. What is this? Okay, interesting. God Logic and Jay Dyer are going to work together. Interesting. I am intrigued. Okay. Anyways, let me look at what I was going to look at. So, just for some context, let me go to the video in question. So this is my most popular video to date. The response to John.
It's my pleasure to introduce you to the Ford Patriot's new Patriot Power Generator 1200.
Okay. So I did want to. Okay, here we. No, not that guy. Well, that guy, but not that comment specifically. So this guy right here, he made this comment. Or wait, is that a guy? I don't know. Anyway, so you have this. Wait a minute. Okay. So you have this guy telling me things like this. So he's telling me 325 Council of Nicaea, which is that's not how you spell it, but I'm not going to go down that ad hominem route. When I asked the first person, how did Catholics create Jesus? I linked into my video where I explain this, where you have pre-Nicene Jesus. So you'll have manuscripts like P75, P66. I don't know if P52 has it. manuscripts before the Council of Nicaea that used the name Jesus. And then I pointed to church fathers, the Megiddo Mosaic, external non-Christian sources like Tacitus, who uses Jesus, the Latin one. The name Jesus predates Constantine. Constantine did not make up Jesus. Now, I guess he watched part of it, but he couldn't deal, first of all, he couldn't deal with my counterexample to transliteration. He said, your name in China remains the same. And I don't know how true that is. I think there is a Chinese version of John, which we'll look at that in a second. I'll just double check. He also said that just because your language changes doesn't mean your name changes. Well, first of all, transliteration is not changing your name. It's changing the language. So hola in Spanish and hello are not two different words. They're the same word in different languages. So I'm going to clip. Just see if he's telling the truth. Oh, look at that. It's not true. The name John in Chinese is Yuhan. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. So there is a Chinese version of John. So he either just didn't know that, or he is lying. I don't think he was lying. I don't think he's the kind of person that wants to lie to me like that. Though some of them do lie to me. I think he just made an honest mistake. This is him being lied to and repeating the lies. So you would know that over 50 pagan gods were up for debate, and they chose to combine two pagan. So, no, the Council of Nicaea had nothing to do with pagan gods. They weren't debating up to 50 pagan gods. They were debating three views. The Arian view that Jesus is heterousios, a different substance than God. So that would be the Arian view, that he's the greatest creation, but he's not ontologically God. There is the Orthodox view, where Jesus is homoousios, of the same substance. Lance, stop. Of the same substance of God. So he is ontologically God. He has the essence of God. Then there would be the Eusebian view, which has the same position as the Orthodox view, but they disagreed on terminology. So they believed in homoousios, of similar substance. And that was just because modalists in the past would use the term homoousios to defend modalism. So this is something somebody made up and he repeated it. This is not true. And they didn't combine two big pagan mighty ones. Zeus, the sun god, and wait a minute, hold on. Zeus is not the sun god. He's the god of thunder. He's considered the almighty god in Greek mythology. You'll see in the Iliad that Zeus was like, he told in one chapter, he tells the gods, don't try to stop me. I'm stronger than all of you. He's considered the almighty. The sun god. So I don't know if he's talking about three here. I don't know what he means, but no, Zeus is not the sun god, and these were not three gods that they combined. Krishna is also Sanskrit for Christo. No, I don't think so. Even if it is, this is a guilt by association fallacy, just because words mean the same thing. This is equivocation fallacy, rather. Equivocation fallacy. So words have different usages. So the term Mashiach in Hebrew is anointed one. That's what it means, anointed one. So that's why you have Christos, because it's the English, it's the Greek translation. So for Krishna, even if it is meaning the same thing, anointed one, this is not a correlation between, oh, look at that, Christos and Krishna must mean the same thing. No. Rather, they mean this, they have the same definition, anointed one, but not the same application, where you have the Messiah, the Mashiach, the Christos, but they are not Krishna, the deity. This is an equivocation fallacy. So Zeus Krishna and Jesus Christos, Jesus Christ, this is not the same thing. Jesus is a transliteration of Yeshua, or Yeshu in the Aramaic, more likely. Krishna and Christos, I don't know if they have any connection, but no, this is inaccurate. I asked him for a discussion. He said, debating is the way of the Greeks. I'm busy obeying Torah of US. So, okay, whatever. I don't know. That was a bit of a weird excuse. I'm busy obeying the Torah of Yahuwah. Okay, whatever. If you don't want to have a discussion, which is not necessarily debate, if you want to have a debate, then I can try to find some way to set it up. On hey, look here. Let me just show you. Look, I'm in this Discord server. I mean, they'd love to. Hold on. This is God Logics. This is God Logics. God Logic Discord. I'm in there. We can have a discussion there, or not, or debate there if you want. But he doesn't want to, so that's fine. I just want a discussion. I want to discuss this face to face because I don't like going back and forth anymore. I don't do back and forth in comments and on Discord anymore. I will do discussions or debates, maybe. I'm still working on that. I don't know how. I would need more time. I would need to make sure that I'm ready to prepare for that. So, I mean, hold on. I'm just clearing these notifications. So discussions, absolutely. Debates are a maybe. Depends. Do I want to do this debate topic? Do I have time? Will it be is it worth it? I'm going to be considering different things. And I'll probably end the stream in a little bit because my mom's going to come home soon. But you saw what he claimed, that Christos comes from Krishna. Is that really accurate? Well, let's look at Daniel 9:25, and we're going to look at the Greek Septuagint, which predates the New Testament by a couple hundred years. I think it varies in manuscripts from 100 to 300 BC, if I'm not mistaken. And it's almost like the Dead Sea Scrolls, but in Greek. So let's look at the Greek Septuagint. Now, look what term shows up in the Greek Septuagint. Look at that. Christos in the genitive case. So of Christ. Now, let me look at the English really quick. I think there's a reason it's in the genitive. And to build Jerusalem unto them. Okay, so yeah, that would be genitive. Unto the Messiah, of the Messiah. Dedicated to the Messiah. That would, genitive case would be best for that. So the term Christos appears in the Greek Septuagint. It's not something Constantine made up. It predates Constantine by about what? How much would that predate Constantine by? Almost 600 years. What's going on, Son of Yahusha? I hope God does bless me more with wisdom. I want to be like Sam Shimon, start quoting a verse. You're quoting this verse. Here's the problem. I hope I get there one day. Now, I don't know this for sure, but I'm going to double check. Let me go to Isaiah 49. I just want to test this. What did they translate Yeshua? Because the term Yeshua shows up in Isaiah 49. Is it verse 5 or is it verse 6? Oh, it's verse 6. I'm sorry. Verse 6. So, yeah, this is it. Yeshua right here. However, what would be the Greek? Huh. Okay, they just use soterian, Rian. They didn't use Jesus. So they translated, they didn't transliterate, which makes sense because that wasn't meant to be something you transliterate. That was used as a title there, not a name. So soteri. Oh, let me read it again. I forgot what word they used. Okay, this one right here. Soterian, which is salvation. That would be the proper term because it's being used as a title, as a word, not a name. Now, I'm not sure if the Greek Septuagint ever used Jesus. I am not sure. If it does, that would be a devastating argument. I don't know if it does, but even if it doesn't, we have ante-Nicene, we have pre-Nicene Jesus. You have, okay, look here. Destroys atheists and slavery debate. Okay, whatever. All right. Now, let me go to my channel again. I have 3 main videos on this right now. There's this video I made a day ago. Does the invention of the letter J prove Jesus is a corrupted name? So that's one of the popular arguments they have, that the name that, oh wait, hold on. I forgot to go share this tab. I always forget that. This video right here, I addressed the controversy of the letter J. It was invented 500 years ago, so the Messiah's name couldn't possibly be Jesus. I addressed that in 2 minutes right here. It literally 2 minutes. Like, you don't have to wait that long. The other 2 videos are a little longer. They're around 10 minutes. This one is 11 minutes. This one is 12.5 minutes. So just a little longer. You can probably increase the speed just to speed up the process. But I have this one addressing the argument that Jesus is Baal because he's Lord. I addressed that. I think I did a solid job addressing it. It should be understandable. This one, I give pre-Nicene evidence of the Greek term Jesus and the Latin term Iesous. Can you make a future video cutting if Jesus comes from the Celtic god Iesous? Yes, I can. So I have notes on that. So I can make a video addressing that. So I'll just give brief responses right now. I'm not gonna spell it full out because I don't want to do the video here. But let's see. Let me find my notes. Hold on. Jesus isn't pagan. All right, there we go. So I have 3. I presented what I could find is the argument. So the arguments they have are that the picture looks the same. So this is one of the pictures of the Celtic god right here. Let me turn up the brightness. I don't think you can see. Oh, the brightness is up. So this is the picture. I don't know if you can see it. It kind of looks like depictions of Jesus. That's the first argument. The second argument is that the names are the same. And then the third one that I found, I guess John Truth made the argument that, well, look, they also have depiction of him as stone. This is Iesous, a stone carving. And then they'll say, well, Jesus is also carved out of stone in some depictions, which is a weird argument because that's just so insignificant. That's such a minor connection. Like if I decided to carve out of stone a depiction of Donald Trump, that doesn't mean that has a connection with Iesous of Gaul, right? That's just an insignificant connection. Now, just to give general responses to the other 2, and I'll expand upon it as soon as I record that video, which I thank you for reminding me. I did want to make that video at some point. So in regards to the paintings, what I say is that paintings from someone like Michelangelo or anybody are not authoritative. So if I draw a picture of Jesus, and I'm not a great drawer at all, I'm not an artist. Drawer is not a word. Artist. I'm not a great artist. So if I were to draw Jesus, it would be far from accurate. That is not an authoritative thing. That is just how I want to depict him. So someone painting Jesus a specific way, even if they did get it from Iesous, even if they did, that's not an authoritative. I don't have to accept Michelangelo's depictions. Could they be accurate? Sure. In fact, I have a picture. There's many kind of depictions of Jesus from different, for example, the Chinese will depict him as like a Chinese man. Depending on the culture, and the modern one is very Americanized. It's like, it looks like a white man, which, yeah, that's not accurate. Obviously, that's not accurate. I agree. So the pictures, depends on the culture. They might depict him with their culture. So Americans depict him as like a white man with long hair and a beard. Yes, but that's just because that's how they imagine him. Just because they're not thinking outside the box. That's not an example of, look, these pictures look the same. They must be the same person. So I can easily respond by saying, well, I think the Chinese depiction is the real Jesus, which I wouldn't say that, but you have different pictures of Jesus. And I think there's even depictions of Jesus that look nothing like the modern paintings of Jesus. So this argument is just pictures are not authoritative like that. They're not. And it's cherry picked because they're picking the pictures that look the same when there's pictures that look different. Now, in regards to the name, what I found is that, and I could be wrong. Let me look it up here. Let's see if it shows me. But what I found is that what's the language? Galaic? The Galaic name for Jesus. Let me look it up. So okay, here. This is what I found. And this could be wrong, but I think this is probably accurate. The Galaic name for Jesus is Iosa. Iosa. So similar to let me look at, because Galaic is similar to Irish. So let me look at Irish as well. Yeah, Iosa. So that's what the Galaic name Jesus. Excuse me. That's what would be Jesus in Galaic. Now, Jesus, what I found, it means Lord, which is not what the name Jesus means. The name Jesus comes from Jesus, which comes from Yeshua or Yesu in Aramaic, which is Yahweh's salvation or Yah's salvation. So they don't mean the same thing. They're not the same name. Look it up. There's I can't spell, dude. And there was a good article on this that I have in my notes as well. What? The name Jesus? No, hold on. I'm not asking Jesus. I'm asking Jesus. Dude, what the heck? Okay, that's AI. Hold on. All right, let me see if I can find the article because it was a good article. It addressed it fairly well. I would link. Actually, can I link it in the chat? Let me see if I can link it in the chat. If I can link it in the chat, then I'll just link it and you can read it. I thought they did a good job addressing. Let's see. I hope it works. If not, I'll see if I can make a community post and you can read it. Hold on. Where's the live stream? Okay, here we go. Now let's see if that worked. Oh, hey, it worked. Wow. For once, it actually let me put a link in the chat. Hold on. Hold on a second. Paste. Can I send this? Oh, I can't send that. Okay, that's not fair. Hold on. I think I just discovered a breakthrough. But that was the article I found. And I think they did a good job. Now, hold on. Let me open, because I didn't expect the link to work. Can I use? No. Don't open StreamYard. I don't want to break it. No. Hold on. Well, anyways, that article addresses it. So it essentially will tell you like, hey, this is where Jesus comes from. This is where Jesus comes from. Here's the differences. This is just making a connection where there is no connection. Now, if this will just, okay, it's not working. Hold on, I'm trying to copy link this. Okay, you know what? Hold on. Let me do it like this. Let me open and let me just type it out. QJ58 ANN K77. All right, now I want to see, did it let me send the StreamYard in the chat? I don't think it did. Okay, no, it didn't. I can send other links, but I can't send the StreamYard link. To do that, I got to rely on community posts and the description of the video, which, by the way, is it in the description of the video? It is. Okay, good. Okay. So I guess we'll end it here because my mom's coming home soon. I got to get ready to probably bring in some stuff, the sun strength. So as I expected, the guy didn't show up. He just made laughing emojis and just trying to troll. Hopefully he comes up for a discussion sometime. I would love to go through your arguments. What is the evidence? What is this evidence that this Nazarene religion is true? I'd love to hear his arguments. I'd love to be refuted by him. But unfortunately, he is just trolling me. So I might have to just block him, honestly. I'll probably end up doing that if he just doesn't budge. So anyway, that's it. I think I'm going to end the stream here. I will try to get that video out next week because that is an argument they use, and I probably should address it. So with that being said, thanks for tuning in, and goodbye.